The circle and the kingdom. The master architecture of life. Selah, alignment, and the word. I'm standing here in front of this 12-stone circle with the red center because this is the architecture behind everything God has been revealing. This circle is not symbolic. It is structural. It is covenantal. It is the blueprint of the kingdom. Every verse we've been studying, Daniel 2, Luke 17, Acts 1, 1 Chronicles 29, Psalm 51, Isaiah 57, Isaiah 66, Exodus 28, and Romans 12. All of them return to this same pattern. Let me show you the architecture. Daniel 2:44 says God sets up a kingdom that will never be destroyed and will not be left to other people. That is the center. That is the red stone. That is the life, the word, the truth, and the covenant. Luke 17, verses 20 through 21 says the kingdom is within you. Jesus is speaking to Israel. The kingdom is placed inside the people who surround the center. That is the 12 stones. That is the identity. That is the placement. Acts chapter 1, verses 6 through 8 says the power flows from Jerusalem outward. Power starts in the center. Power moves through the stones. Power flows to the nations. That is the order. That is the flow. Now, 1 Chronicles chapter 29, verses 10 through 20 gives us the kingdom confession. David says, "Thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory." He acknowledges the center. He acknowledges the source. He acknowledges the order. Then he says, "Of thine own have we given thee." Meaning everything we return to God came from the center in the first place. Psalm 51, verses 15 through 19, shows us the heart posture of the sinner. David says, God does not delight in sacrifice without alignment. The real offering is a broken spirit and a contrite heart. That is the posture required to stand in the center. Isaiah 57:15 says, God dwells with the humble and the contrite. Not the ritualistic, not the performative. The center is where God dwells. The center is where humility lives. The center is where life flows. Isaiah 66, verses 1 through 2 says, God looks to the one who trembles at his word, not the one who brings empty offerings. Alignment is the requirement. Reverence is the requirement. Truth is the requirement. That is the alignment of the stones around the center. Exodus 20:8 says, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. This is rhythm. This is order. This is the weekly return to the center. Sabbath is a Selah to the covenant, the pause that restores alignment. Now Romans 12, verses 1 through 2, brings the entire architecture into your body. Present your body as a living sacrifice, not ritual, not performance, not religion, alignment. Romans 12 is the human embodiment of this circle. Your life becomes a stone. Your mind becomes the alignment. Your obedience becomes the offering. Your transformation becomes the flow. Now let's bring in the themes we've been teaching. Selah is the pause in the center. It is a moment where everything stops so you can see the order again. Selah is the red stone. Selah is the reset. Selah is the alignment. Money is never the center. Money is a tool. Tools belong outside the circle. Life grows in the center. Money does not. When money becomes the center, the order collapses. When God is the center, money finds its place. Trees represent life, wisdom, and covenant. The tree of life was in the center of the garden. Life is always in the center, never on the edges, never in the nations, always in the covenant core. Sacrifice only appears after the fall. Adam and Eve did not sacrifice. They lived in alignment. Cain and Abel sacrificed because they lived outside the center. Israel sacrificed because they lived under distance. Romans 12 calls you back into the center. A living sacrifice, not a dying one. Everything returns to the same architecture. Center, order, life, alignment, flow. This circle before me is the kingdom established in Daniel 2. It is a kingdom located in Luke 17. It is a kingdom empowered in Acts 1. It is a kingdom confessed in 1 Chronicles 29. It is a kingdom purified in Psalm 51. It is a kingdom dwelt in through Isaiah 57. It is a kingdom aligned in Isaiah 66. It is a kingdom rested in through Exodus 20. It is a kingdom embodied in Romans 12. The red center is God's life, God's word, God's truth, and God's kingdom. The stones are the people who align with that center. The space outside the circle is where struggle, sacrifice, and disorder appear. Everything we've been teaching, Selah, money, trees, life, sacrifice, kingdom. All of it is this circle. All of it is this order. All of it is this architecture. This is the kingdom. This is the pattern. This is the revelation. This is the remnant teaching. And this is the clarity. Selah.